In this video, I want to talk about overwhelm, and I want to talk about embracing overwhelm and alchemizing it through that embrace, through the acceptance, and give you some tools on how to work with overwhelm to turn it into creative flow. So, my journey with overwhelm is that I am a single mother. I have been a single mother for 7 years, and that is not what has caused overwhelm. That has been a trigger for overwhelm, as well as the desire to create more for myself. The awakening that I experienced through single motherhood, which opened up my awareness to all kinds of different possibilities for myself, for humanity, and for life in general. If I didn't have that expanded awareness, then I would not find the situation overwhelming, at least not in the same ways. So I want to highlight something about overwhelm. First, talking about what even is overwhelm. It's a feeling that many of us know. We all have different situations that at different times in our lives have made us feel overwhelmed. But when we look at it from an energetic point of view, what is it? So the way I see it is overwhelm is when we have a lot of something trying to go through a space where there is not enough capacity to process that amount of that thing. So for example, if you're pouring water through a funnel and you're pouring too fast and the funnel is not big enough to hold the water at the rate that you're pouring it through, then the funnel will sense the overwhelm and it will overflow and be an issue, right? But we can work the process, we can work the whole mechanism without hiding from the amount of information that is available to us, the amount of energy that we're processing. The other thing about overwhelm is that it's perceptual. Like, it's not a real thing. It's based on a perception of there being too much for us to handle, too much for us to do, too much for us to think about, too much to process. It's a perception. If we did not have that perception about there being too much, even if it's the infinite awareness of the whole entire universe, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be an issue. It wouldn't make us feel overwhelmed unless we had some kind of narrow constraint on our awareness around the perception of that energy. So that's important to know, that overwhelm is never coming from outside of us. It is never coming from a situation, no matter how tumultuous or chaotic or crazy it might feel. It is coming from the way that we are perceiving that situation and that energy and our ability to process it. Now, before going into the alchemy of overwhelm, firstly, there may be situations where the answer to the overwhelm is to just not do something, right? And I think that we often choose that. We often choose to just not go there if it's overwhelming, to just not take on that project, to not take on that desire, that goal, and to not go for it because it feels overwhelming. we do this a lot of the time without even realizing it. We just get like an overwhelming sense and feeling before even trying really to do something, and then we don't go for it. But I think those are not the times necessarily to back away and let something go. Because if there isn't an attempt to alchemize the overwhelm, then we may be missing out on doing something that we really would deeply love to be doing. And actually, overwhelm is often a sign of we're growing. We have a chance and an opportunity to expand. But we'll go into that in a little bit. The times when I do think it's appropriate to just let something go and not do it is when we check in with ourselves, and we check in and see, is this really for me or not? You know, am I finding this overwhelming because my soul really does not want to do this? This isn't for me. I'm stretched too thin and I don't want to grow my capacity to hold more. I want to stabilize where I'm at, and if I do that, there's only a certain amount of energy I can take on. And maybe this energy that I'm trying to process is toxic, and I don't want it. I don't want that. So those are times when we need to discern between, is it time to move through this and learn how to move through it? Or is it time to let something go and not do it? But if it's because we want to stay in a comfort zone that will not help us grow, then I would say no. And overwhelm, often when we have at least some amount of alignment and connection with our self and our purpose and our goal, then the overwhelm is natural. It will come up because it is a sign of growth. It is a sign of trying to handle more and not yet feeling like you can. So, yeah, it's a really big shift when we start to see it that way, that it's actually an opportunity for expansion. And without the tools on how to work with it, then it can just get us feeling really stuck and even paralyze us and not allow us to move forward. So, for example, with creative or spiritual overwhelm, which is the kind that I'm familiar with, really, and as well as, it's just overwhelm. I think, especially with the amount of information now that we are faced with every single day online, and with just our expanding awareness as human beings, it's just general overwhelm of what to do with all this information, what to do with everything that we are becoming aware of. What is for me? What is not for me? Where's my place in this world? What do I do? What? That's really the kind of overwhelm I'm talking about. And everyone has different situations that might bring them into that. But I think it's a kind of place that many of us reach on the journey of self-actualization. When you open your awareness, it's very natural to just be like, what do I do with all of this? So that brings me into the alchemy, the alchemizing of overwhelm. How do we work with it? How do we move with it? Moving with it, first of all, feeling it in our body, feeling it energetically rather than only in the mind, is one thing that already can just bring relief and open up our awareness. And whatever we need to do to loosen ourselves up and expand our awareness to begin embracing the energy that's flowing through us. So first of all, realizing we are limitless in our awareness, in our capacity to be aware, And so when we first tap into that and we realize we don't need to be in a tight, constrained space, we can be completely limitless and just perceive it all. You know, we can firstly do that, but that's going to take a dropping away from the mind and opening up to our full being awareness, our full body awareness, feeling the energy that we're processing through our fingertips just as much as what we're processing through the mind. So that's already an opening, that's already an expansion. And, you know, a lot of the times there's contraction in the heart. So breathing and opening into the heart, these are the kind of somatic practices, which there are vast arrays of ways to just open and loosen ourselves up, depending on how much contraction we're holding in our body. You know, yeah, this is the first step, is to realize we're limitless. The next step is to, once we have embraced the overwhelm and allowed it, and that already shifts our relationship with it greatly and already shifts us away from overwhelm and just into like bigness, right? Just open awareness, and we're allowing it to process, but it still might mean that we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to channel it into something we might want to do, whether it's a big, you know, life move or decision we want to make, or whether it's literally just writing and producing some kind of piece of art, or finishing a project, or making dinner, like whatever it might be. And there's a code that's been dropping in around how to do this. And so I want to bring us back to that analogy of the funnel. And so if we don't have a funnel, which is where we're at now with just the pure embrace of it and opening our awareness to meet all the information that's flowing through us all the time, then we're just a fully open channel and everything's just flowing through constantly. But when it comes to actualizing and creating something from that energy through ourselves, we need to accept that we are in these somewhat limited vessels at this time, right? And we want to, I feel like I want to be able to channel as much of the energy as possible, but I really want to be able to do so coherently. I really want to do so in a way that's aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing. So changing our relationship also with the constraint, with the limitation, and seeing it as a beautiful thing, seeing ourselves as a funnel. We are a divine funnel that is going to have certain energies that feel most aligned for us to be creating with and from. And so we're like building the funnel that is us in a way that really we want to. And it's going to be guided, it's going to be guided by a few things. The first thing is our intention or long-term desire. It's important to have like a big vision of what the hell you're doing. What do you want out of life? What feels most true for you when you ask yourself, what am I creating? What am I doing with this existence? What is this for? And if you can get specific about a goal for yourself within that context, like that will guide everything in your life, and it will guide big things, small things, and it will always be there to anchor as a North Star in terms of like, okay, what do I want to do with all the energy I have available to me? What do I want to do with all the information I have available to me? How does this feed in to what I want to do on this earth? So that's the big part that's always guiding us and always open for us to continue attuning to and becoming clearer and clearer on. And then there's kind of drawing that in to the now. So presence is a really important piece. Just being present already, actually draws the energy in. I don't know if I would say it limits it, but when we're not kind of allowing ourselves to be in like infinite amounts of timelines all at once and in all these different realities through our awareness at once, and we're like, no, I'm grounding into this space where I'm at now, into this body that I'm in now, that already draws us in. And then using the mind and the heart together to get clear on what it is you're trying to do. Like, what do you want to do, not just in your life long term, which helps the guidance of everything we're doing, but then now in this moment. So if I want to make dinner, but I'm feeling really overwhelmed, which by the way happens to me sometimes, still now a lot, I will have certain like things that I want out of that dinner, right? Like, I want to have a nourishing meal. I might not want to spend too much money on the meal because maybe I don't have that much money available to me to make the meal. I like don't want to have to order any food. I want to be able to make something fresh and nourishing. So then checking like, well, what do I have available to me? What do I have in the fridge? What are the elements and components that I'm working with here? And if it's like making this video, for example, I would check in with my long-term goal, which is the context for why I'm creating this video, and then wanting to create a video that the components would be like feels true for me and authentic and allows me to express something that's really true for me and allows me to grow in doing so. Like, I'm expanding, I'm pushing through my limits and barriers. Also that connects and can potentially help others. Also, yeah, like serves an expanding awareness, fits into a business that I'm creating. And when we like try too hard to find the answer to those questions and go, okay, based on these components, what is the video going to be? Depending on how your mind works, I mean, and how much like time and space you have available to you to like look at that, that might feel overwhelming. Even just those 3 or 4 components to work with might feel overwhelming. But here's where there's a dance. Here's where there's an inner union moment. And there always is with anything cool that's happening. There's masculine and feminine energy that become present and need to work together to create something, to create a shift, to bring forth something new, to bloom something through you. And here's where that happens. There's the masculine containment that we're creating through this funnel and the components that are present here that we choose. And from an empowered place, like, what am I choosing to create with this moment, with this energy, with this sense of overwhelm I'm feeling because I'm trying to do something and it's like freaking me out and making me feel tight and constrained. This is the masculine energy of creating the containment for it to come through, the correct containment for it to come through. And then the feminine side is not forcing that. The feminine side is like, all right, now that we have this containment, like, let's flow, let's play, let's allow what spirit calls for to come through. Let's trust that I've created the perfect container based on the awareness that I have, and the honing of that awareness. And I'm going to trust that now the perfect thing is going to come through. And then the idea comes, and there may be a little more masculine energy to come in and figure it out and work out the logistics of it. But there's a trusting, and that's how it's going to feel good, is that there's these 2 energies that are present. So yeah, It's like giving ourselves a little bit of patience to be with it, not trying to rush to the end result, not trying to rush to, oh, I need to create, being with this process of, all right, whatever it may be that we're overwhelmed with, I can be with this level of information. I can open myself to it, and I can draw it in and create the perfect vessel, containment, funnel for it to come through into something really beautiful. Whether it's big, whether it's small, whatever it is, I can create with this energy based on my personal values, my personal goals, my personal intention, and my personhood, who I am. So this is that. This video has been me actually doing that. A couple days ago, yesterday, I didn't know what I was going to make this third YouTube video about. Really, I had a lot of ideas floating around, and so I asked for help, for guidance from within on how to create something coherent, how to create something that feels right for this particular situation. It's like a puzzle, there's a specific piece, and we can find that specific piece, and we can get pretty specific about it if we allow ourselves to go into the process. So yeah, I hope that helps someone at some point in time with the energetic overwhelm. It's something that is like near and dear to my heart. The overwhelm has allowed me to expand in so many ways and come into an ability to harness energy and work with it and create from it. And I honor the overwhelm because I know that it means that I'm called to expand. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.